everyone, Debra Angilletta here from mastermysales.com. So excited to be here with you for the Successful Bookkeeper Summit. If you came here for sales and how to master selling for your bookkeeping business, you are in the right place, and I welcome all of you. So excited. We're going to be diving in very, very soon. But what I can tell you is that not only is this fantastic content, it's actionable content. So no matter what you learn here today, you're going to be able to implement after the presentation today. So let's go ahead and dive in without further ado. And I'll introduce myself a little bit more later in the presentation, and you'll see how all of this ties in together. All right, so here's what you can expect to learn today. We're going to be talking about the proven words and phrases to get prospects on the phone with you. Now, I know many of you are really good at getting prospects on the phone, but how about getting the right ones on the phone? We're going to be talking about how to attract the right people and saying the right words to do that. The other thing is the practical approach to showing your value. I hear this all the time, that bookkeepers struggle to get prospects and clients to understand their value so they in turn can really charge what they're worth. And I know you're worth every penny, but they need to know how, and we're going to show you how to do that. Lastly, how to overcome that imposter syndrome. I know I hear this as well, and we're going to go ahead and give you some tips and tricks around that as well, so you never have to feel like an imposter in your own office when you're talking to a prospect and feeling uncomfortable. We're going to give you those tactics to be able to go into a conversation and feel super confident about an offer you are making to your prospect, so they can easily say yes to your offer and be the only choice to work with. So excited. But here's the thing. I would suggest at this point, just a little housekeeping item, go ahead, take out a pen and paper. You're going to want to go ahead and jot this down as I'm going through some of these points. We've got some great golden nuggets in the presentation, and I will go ahead and give you prompts of where you want to write some of these items down. So first things first is we really have to talk about, why is getting sales dialed in so important for bookkeepers? Now, I really want you to think about this for a moment, because we're going to fill this in. Blank is the only thing that causes blank to move. Now, I want you to kind of settle into this for a moment as you jot this down, and we're going to fill this in together. So sales is the only thing that causes money to move. I want you to really think about that for a moment, because what is it that facilitates business in your company? It is the ability to go out, having your service, engaging in a conversation with a prospect, and then closing the deal by them paying you further for your services. Now, this does a couple of things, right? It not only helps you serve at your highest level, but it also helps your prospect get them to serve on their highest level, because you are creating that circle where that money can come back around and actually help up-level them in their business by bringing you in to partner with you. So sales is the only thing that causes money to move. Think about that for a moment, and we're going to be diving in some examples of where you can see that very, very clearly. So once again, sales hinges on all of this. This is why we not only want to be talking about the things that we can offer our clients, like the bookkeeping service, the compliance services, maybe even the advisory services, but that's where we want to get you. We want to get you in that up-level position of being that expert and being seen as that expert, and even putting you up to that advisory level so you can speak to business owners on a higher level, but then also facilitate higher level partnerships, which in turn benefit the business owner and benefit your bottom line. All right, so I hear this all the time. And so this is the thing that makes most people uncomfortable with sales. The feeling that you have to go into a conversation convincing someone to do business with you. And let's read this definition together, this convincing, right? To make somebody do business with you. Now, I don't know about you, but that tends to make me feel very, very uncomfortable. When I read that statement, it just doesn't even feel good, even when I try that on. And so here's the thing. There is no selling in sales once you do this correctly. And if you position your sales and your conversations and you make it client facing, and what I mean by that is you make the conversation all about your prospect. This is how you can start turning all of this around. And we're going to be getting into that in a moment. But there's no convincing anyone to do business with you. They will do business with you when you have the right conversations in the right order, asking the right questions. You become the only choice to work with. So for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Debra Angilletta. And yes, I do work with accountants, bookkeepers, and financial coaches, helping them with their clients and making selling seamless and all this other stuff here. But I think the operative thing to really take away with this is that I'm not just somebody that's on the stage teaching all of this stuff about sales. I have personal experience, and I want you to know that I'm in the sales trenches every single day in the financial arena, right alongside all of you. So I'm not just teaching this stuff, I'm doing this stuff every single day. And I'm going to be sharing with you in a moment, basically my journey and how I got to this point of teaching sales to accountants and bookkeepers and people in the financial industry, and some of the pitfalls that I went through and all of the teachings that I learned that I can condense down and really share great information with you today that is just so valuable. So, like I said before, the dirty little secret when it comes to sales tactics is that, to tell you the truth, there's no selling in sales when you do it wonderfully and perfectly, right? And that also increases your confidence and then gets rid of all the nervousness so that you know you can just have a really fruitful conversation and serve your prospects and clients on a high level. So the reason why I'm sharing this picture is because some of you may think that you need to be born a salesperson. And I will tell you, I was not born a salesperson by any stretch of the imagination. And there's one thing that I did know how to do, and I know most of you out there know how to do this as well, is you know how to pick up the phone and have a conversation. And if you can do that, you're already halfway there when it comes to sales and being effective. Now, like many of you, I went to school, got my finance degree, but nowhere in the curriculum that I remember or could recall, was a course on selling myself or selling my services. And so even to this day, I don't even know if that even exists now. And so I knew I was really good at what I did. I was prepared for the financial world, but I wasn't prepared when it came to selling myself or products and services. And so when I eventually moved on to my Wall Street job, I wound up looking around at other people and really honing my sales skills by just doing what they were doing. And so I got by. I figured out how to do things here and there. And I wasn't a great salesperson, but like I said, I got by in my positions. And what I will tell you is that even before I made it to Wall Street, I wound up in a small financial planning practice and in the insurance industry. And if any of you have any familiarity with that, selling insurance, wow, talk about feeling like that overselling of an insurance agent didn't make me feel good. And every time I saw people do it, I was like, I can never do that. That's not me. So I always had to find my own way. And so eventually what happened is that there was a bombshell moment when I realized I really had to get my sales dialed in. Once I left corporate, that I was just getting by on my sales skills by watching other people, having no formal sales training, I decided to leave the business in order to start my family. And once I did that, I started my family and said, you know what? I'm not going to go back to corporate life. I'm going to go ahead and start my own business. And so that's where this really comes in. It comes in because once I started to sell myself, I started to come into the difficulty. I soon realized that I could get by in corporate selling other people's products and services, but I couldn't sell myself. And so what you're going to see here is you're going to see me on a stage. Early on in my business, I garnered business by doing speaking events. I would talk to a group of maybe 20, 25 people, walk out with some sales conversation and close a handful of clients. Well, I got the idea one day as like, well, if I can get in front of 20 people, why can't I get in front of 200 people and 10x my results? So that's what I did. I went ahead and took on a sponsorship. And what that is when you pay money and you go ahead and get on somebody else's stage. They get all the people in the crowd for you, which is fantastic. So I paid my $15,000, did a talk, walked out of this with 75 sales conversations. I was on top of the world. I crushed it. Took me 6 weeks to go through those conversations. But here's what I soon discovered. my sales game was terrible because the result of that sponsorship and the result of those sales conversations was zero, a big goose egg, no business at the end of this. I made every mistake in the book. And I'll tell you, it's that time when I was at my lowest point. I knew I had to get sales training. I had to do the work, pull myself up by my bootstraps because I had to bring money in for my family, right? This new baby that I had, and also leaving corporate, I had to pull in an income. So it was like watching money going down the toilet by $15,000, right? And so I don't want this to happen to you. And what I did was I went ahead, got the training. Here's where I am today, understanding the turnaround that I put in the work, over 10,000 hours of sales training, over 20,000 sales calls over the past 20, 30 years. And today helping clients build their businesses by up leveling their sales conversations, generating 25 million in sales over the last 5 years. So just know I've done the work and I'm pulling out my best stuff here to share with you today with everybody here at the Successful Bookkeeper Summit. All right. So who is this for? You're in the right place as if you're a bookkeeper or an accountant or a consultant, somebody that's looking to up level to that advisory role or be that higher level consultant. So let's go ahead and dive in. Get that piece of paper and pen ready because we've got some great stuff here for you today. So one of the things that I hear all the time is, Deb, how do I get great prospects on the phone? Like I can talk to people and I get referrals, but how do I get the right people on the phone? And so let's go ahead and point out one of the problems that comes up often that I see with accountants and bookkeepers when they're having their conversations on the phone. It's that we lead a lot of times with the solution in the conversation. So let me show you how this happens. You get on the call with someone, they start telling you their problems and their difficulties, and you automatically go into solution mode. Well, you can do this, and I can recommend that. And so here's the problem, right? You were never trained to do anything but to help. You are at heart a helpingpreneur. I know that. You just want to help people and make sure that they get everything in order, right? But when we're having a conversation with someone that's a prospect or even a client that maybe you're trying to upsell into higher level advisory consulting services, you can't go into the solutioning mode early. You've got to stay with the problem and go deep on the problem. So let's stay out of solutioning. How do we do that? We lead with a sticky problem. All right. I'm going to show you what this looks like. You've got to figure out what is going to be the glue between you and your prospect. You have to have your prospect understand very, very early on that you get what's going on in their business. So here's some things we hear from prospects. I never have any money around to pay taxes. My accountant says, or my CPA says, I'm profitable this year, but where's the money? I'm not taking a paycheck. I work so hard, there's no money to show for it. My books are a mess. My compliance is awful. Or maybe you're doing the bookkeeping, they're doing the bookkeeping on their own and they don't want to do it anymore. Or they don't know where their money goes, or cash flow is a constant roller coaster ride. Once you get super clear on the major problem your market, your prospect, or your industry is having, that your service, this will set you apart from everybody else and up level your conversations. This is how you can start being seen as that expert and the go-to person. Let's go a little deeper on this. So here's the thing. The problem that your prospects are experiencing, not only do you have to be explicit and specific, the problem must be visceral. So I want you for a moment, this is where you can start jotting some numbers, some notes down here. Go ahead and jot down, what are some of the industries that you service? Now, if you don't have just one pure niche, pick a couple industries. Maybe you serve the construction industry. Maybe you serve real estate agents, or maybe you serve medical practices or specialty medical practices. Whatever it is, write down that industry. Now start thinking about what's the presenting problem you hear over and over and over again that people bring to you. Now, I know you know what that is. We're just going to flesh that out here. This is going to give you the indication of that visceral problem, the one problem that everybody has that just makes them cringe. And so when it comes to a visceral reaction, let's define this a little further. It's that reaction when somebody sighs and when they talk about it, right? So for example, I'm always on this cash flow roller coaster and I just never seem to have enough money when I need it. They make the big sigh. They slam their hams down on the desk. Maybe they all of a sudden sound like they're in a place of defeat. Whatever it is, the voice inflection changes. They take a big pause and they say, well, that's a really good question. Right? The, the reaction must be visceral. And when you've got that and you're getting that type of reaction, then you know you've had it. You know you have it. That's the item that you're going to go deep dive with that particular client. And then you also know that's the hot button issue. You found your sticky factor. Because remember, the visceral problem is the glue is between the visceral problem and your solutions, your bookkeeping services, your advisory service, your compliance services. We don't go deep on our solutions and our solutioning. That's what people pay us for. But we've got to go deep on that problem, understand what the sticky situation is, of that visceral problem that your prospect is having, and you have to hear it from them. You can't just assume that this is a problem. You have to explicitly ask them or pull it out of your prospect in order to make sure that you've got it. This is the sticky factor that is going to be able to differentiate yourself from everybody else out there, number one. And number two, for you to be the only choice for your prospect to work with. So here's what's happening. There's so much noise out there when we are looking to attract prospects or the right prospects to talk to. I'm going to give you an example of some of the noise that's going on out there and how to overcome it and slice right through it. Here's an example of some copy. People market me all the time for bookkeeping and accounting services. And I just want to give you a visual representation of what I'm seeing out there. So people will approach me, tell me that they're a QuickBooks Pro advisor or a Xero professional. I've got a team of CPAs. We can handle bookkeeping at cost-effective prices. That's nice, but it's very general. It's not hitting me in any sort of way as a business owner. I don't feel like they're speaking to me and maybe some of the problems in my industry. Let's move on to the next. Once again, we're full service CPAs. That's great. We can meet your needs. Give us a call, right? Here's what's contributing to the noise. There's no specifics here. I'm not having any kind of visceral reaction to what they're telling me. I don't know that they can help me with what I need because they're not getting to the point of what really plagues my industry. What's my problem? Speak to it. That's the way you cut through the noise and then you step out from your competition. The other thing that you need to know is that people don't read. So when you have copy like this, maybe you're reaching out to someone, you just met somebody at a networking event, like, hey, would love to talk about your bookkeeping needs and seeing what we can do. Too general, right? We've got to be able to conjure that up. We want to make our outreach very, very specific, but also very short and sweet because people don't read. They scan. So if you can make your ask or your outreach or your request for a call with them very, very specific, that cuts through the noise. And that also brings a better prospect to the phone call because you already know they're prepped and primed for that problem and that you've hit the nail on the head and they're coming to that call knowing that you are the expert that is going to solve that sticky problem for them. So let's quantify this a little further because I know everybody's looking for the exact recipe here, right? So here's how you can position your calls. Just say your industry, let's pick one here. I don't know where all my money goes, right? So I'll tell you, construction industry, right? They have cash flow problems a lot of the time. And so if you serve the construction industry, you can position your calls or your initial prospect calls as find the money strategy calls, right? That is something, remember, people don't read, they scan. That is a right between your eyes, very specific, and it also hits the nerve. Find the money strategy. There are businesses always trying to find the money because they're on this cash flow roller coaster. That's how you get people to engage with you. Be very, very specific. get that visceral reaction, dial that in, and then attract them to that call so that they know you are their person. All right. People who don't want to do the bookkeeping anymore, it's a bookkeeping strategy, right? How can we go ahead and get bookkeeping in place for you so that you can run your business more efficiently and sleep well at night? Here's another one. I never know if I have any money to hire people. Great. We'll have a hiring strategy and how bookkeeping can support you in your hiring endeavors. Do you see how specific and how we fine tune the way that we speak about the call that we're going to be having with our prospect and how to attract them to have that call? Because you are speaking directly to them. The problem is visceral. You're honing in on it. And now they know that you understand them. Eureka, right? So that's exactly what you want. And that is how you cut through the noise and honestly blow your competition out of the water. So here's your action item. I want you to go ahead and reach out to 10 warm prospects. A warm prospect is maybe somebody that you met at a networking event, got introduced to, maybe a referral that you haven't talked to in a while, or people that you've talked to in the past that maybe you want to resurrect. Those are all warm prospects. Think about the sticky problem that they are dealing with or that they're dealing with in their industry. Invite them to that blank call, the hiring strategy call, the profitability strategy call, the cash flow management strategy call, whatever it is, that is going to attract the right people to be talking about the right topics, knowing that you are the person that is going to solve their problem. And then keep it simple, stay with the problem, stay out of solutioning. That is what your prospects pay you for. All right. We're moving on to number 2, how to show your value. Now, this all goes hand in hand. So the first item that we went through is really positioning yourself as an expert and attracting the right people, right? So that's the first thing. But how do you show the value to your prospects and even your clients that you're looking to up-level? So here's the thing. We tend to deal with this problem behind the problem of not being able to show our value. A lot of times we're a little bit shaky on what we should be charging our clients. And we're scratching our head and say, well, how do I really create the value so that my clients and prospects can understand it, what I bring to the table? So here's the thing. I love looking at this movie clip, one of my favorite movies of all time. And so here's the thing. We've got to go there. We've got to talk about this thing called the ROI. We got to show our prospects and our clients the money. The value lies in, what are you going to do for me? What's going to be on the other end of us working together, right? So you've got to go there and talk about the ROI on the call. And so here's the thing. Remember when we were talking about that sticky factor, right? So we've got to go ahead and take that sticky factor, the presenting problem, and then we have to figure out, well, what's the solution on the other side and what's the value of the solution? So going back to maybe if you work with the construction industry or if they have a cash flow management problem, just say you have a cash flow management strategy call with them, right? You get them on the phone, and soon what you need to do is you need to flush out what is the value of working with you, of creating a cash flow management solution for them. Here's how you start to do it. So another thing I want you to jot down, this is super important. I really want you to sit with this one and digest this, because once it becomes part of you, this is the game changer. Because understand that there is a monetary value to absolutely everything. There's a monetary value to everything. There's a monetary value to all of your services. And so here's how this presents itself. There's 2 different ways to vet the value of your service. There's direct way and an indirect way. The direct way means that there is money at the other end, and I'm going to be giving you an illustration of that. Indirect way is how to value people's time. So stay with me here. We're going to get you some examples here. So this is one of my clients who is a merchant processor. So, you know, when you go into the cafes and you tap your card and you pay for your latte or whatever it is, that machine there is a merchant processing machine. He's got a big business. He has merchant processing machines all over the country in all different types of businesses. This gentleman came to me and I knew he was having a tax problem. So we had a tax strategy call. Right now, no, I'm not a CPA and I'm not a bookkeeper and I'm not an accountant, but I am a coach. But I knew that taxes was his hot button issue. So how do you think I positioned the call? Let's talk about what's going on with your taxes, right? So here was his problem. He explicitly told me he was 2 years behind in paying the IRS. He was on a payment plan, still owed them $25,000. And he wanted to make sure that he had working towards $50,000 in a separate tax account so that he never got caught without having money to pay his taxes. So in this scenario, he told me exactly what he wanted as the desired outcome. I want you to work with me in finding how to pay off the IRS for the prior arrears and how to fund my future taxes. The number he came up with was $75,000. $25,000 plus that $50,000 came up with the $75,000 solution. That is the value of the solution to this particular client. And that's exactly what we worked to achieve. So that's where we define the direct. It was very direct in the conversation. There was a monetary desired outcome at the other end. And my prospect laid it out beautifully, told me exactly what their number was, and we proceeded to do business together and work towards getting that in place for them. Now, something that's a little bit more indirect is that you always want to be flushing out that value. But here's the story of a realtor. So this particular realtor was not only high-end real estate, so their payouts were pretty big when they closed a deal. They did fix and flips, and they also had a property management company. So this is the indirect way that you can come to a desired outcome and put that monetary value around it. So in talking to this prospect, went ahead and asked them the question to say, okay, who's doing your bookkeeping right now? And the reason why they came to the call is because they were so overwhelmed with the bookkeeping that they just didn't know what to do anymore. So this was a bookkeeping strategy call, right? So we're tying in the first directive that we talked about. Now let's tie it all together in the sales conversation. What is it that you're struggling with your bookkeeping? And, just holding it together, there's a lot of pieces here and there. And quite frankly, I don't know if I'm doing it right. And it's taking me so much time. Great. So I'm sorry to hear that. How much time is your bookkeeping taking? And so they share that you want to know what? It depends. On a good week, it's 5 hours. On a bad week, it's 10 hours. And so the next question was, what could you do with those extra 5 to 10 hours a week if you were able to lay off that bookkeeping to somebody that is a great professional that can get that all dialed in for you? They said, I could make more sales. I could sell more real estate. Great. What is one average deal worth for you? And they shared the number. Well, one deal for me, based on what I do, $80,000 easy in the month that I could garner from my sales, right? So here's what we did. We took a time factor, right? The big problem for this prospect was time. Didn't have time to do the bookkeeping, wanted to lay it off. So, doing the bookkeeping, listen, anybody can do that, right? But what is it that you're actually providing for your client? You are freeing up time so that they can actually grow their top line, bring in more money. What was the solution worth? One new sale or a month's worth of sales, $80,000. We were able to pull that out of this prospect. So therefore, it's very, very clear the ROI working with you, right? It's going to be a monetary figure every single month. That particular real estate person they said it themselves. Oh, I could easily close $80,000 more business each month. That's each month. Times that by 12. That is huge. These are the outcomes you're producing for them. Now, can you see how clear your value is? This is why you need to start talking about the ROI. Pull out what the desired outcome is. Everything has a monetary value, and you've got two great examples of how to pull that out on your prospect calls. So start creating the ROI on your next call, whether it's direct and they reveal the number or it's indirect. It's usually a time factor. How much time is this taking you away from your core business? If I was to give you time back, what would you do with it? And what would that mean for your revenues? You will get the answer, and that makes it more tangible to your prospect to understand your value. And you want to know what? This takes practice. So one way to get started is just to start talking about the ROI in the call. Start jumping in. You're not going to be perfect at this, and I don't expect you to be. This takes time and training, but you're just getting started, and this is going to help you up level those conversations so that finally, your prospects and clients, your value becomes a no-brainer, clear as can be. All right. So last item here, how to overcome imposter syndrome. I hear this all the time, and it really starts creeping in. I know probably many of you that are watching this, maybe you're just starting out in your business, but I'm going to assume a lot of these people watching this training are seasoned professionals. And so some of the roadblocks that we encounter is up-leveling ourselves in our business, charging more money, even upselling new clients or taking on better prospects, right? And this is where we start to get nervous when we start getting into some shifts and change in our business, especially when it comes to what we charge our clients. So when it comes to thinking about, are you getting in your own way when it comes to selling your services? Are you completely comfortable at the level that you are making offers at? Some of you completely comfortable, right? But some of you may need to jump out of your comfort zone and start raising some prices. And then that's where all of this angst and that syndrome comes in. It's like, who am I to charge this money? Who are you not to? That's my question. So let's see if we can give you some things you can do to really smooth all of this out and become really super comfortable with this. So here's what you're going to do first. You're going to take yourself out of the offer. It's not about you. Let's make sure we are crafting an offer that makes sense, and let's take you out of the equation, right? So here's the litmus test. It's something that you're going to do in the background before you present an offer to any prospect or client at any point in time. You have to figure out if your offer is going to make sense to your prospect. Here's the way you get started with this, and here's the litmus test. It's a formula. So go ahead and jot this down. You want to go ahead and fill in these blanks. Is blank a fair return for a blank investment? And we're going to go ahead and fill these blanks in together. I'm going to show you exactly how this works. Now, this isn't what you're doing in front of a client. You are doing this in the background so that we can overcome imposter syndrome and really step into that higher level advisory seat and that confidence as well when you sell your products and services. So what is it that you want to charge this client? What are you trying to up level to, or what's the level that you want them investing with you at? So I'm just going to take an arbitrary number, whatever your number is, you would fill this in. Just say you want to charge your prospect $1,000 a month, and maybe you're a little shaky and a little iffy or not quite sure. So let's go ahead and test this out to see if it's going to make sense, because there's nothing worse getting on a phone call, making an offer to a prospect and going like this and like, oh, don't say no, don't say no, don't say no, right? So we don't even have to go into that. We can actually springboard into that conversation so confidently that you know you're going to close the deal and this is going to tell the tale. Just say you want to charge $1,000 a month. So annualize, that's $12,000 a year. So let's go ahead and bring back our example of the real estate agent. If you were able to engage them doing their bookkeeping compliance work, becoming a trusted advisor, and really working with that real estate owner closely, you are going to be able to give them back time, which is going to give them time to have more real estate closings and be able to bring in more money, right? So let's go ahead and insert their number. Right? $80,000 is what they said. Oh, I'd be able to close $80,000 easy. And that was only in 1 month. That wasn't even annualized. So is $80,000 just in 1 month and 30 days a fair return for a $12,000 investment? Look at this. Look at this. Go ahead and input all of your numbers in your situation. All you have to do is look at this. Does this statement hold water? When you look at it like this, you're like, oh my gosh, this is a no-brainer. Maybe I should charge them more. You see how this works? Because once you're able to position your offer in a way like this before you even make the presentation, now it becomes a no-brainer, because you want to know what? If it's a no-brainer for you, it's going to be a no-brainer for your prospect to be able to say yes to working with you. The ROI is clear. It's as clear as day. So does your offer make sense? Go ahead and use the equation. Would you buy from you? Would you sign on the dotted line? You're like, heck yeah, right? So sell yourself first. Doing this will help you overcome imposter syndrome and skyrocket your confidence. So here's your action item. Test your offer before you even hop on the phone with your prospect and show them what you have in store for them and make your proposal, right? Go ahead, do the test. Does the offer make sense to you? Are you like, oh yeah, I'll sign on the dotted line? That is where your confidence is going to come from. And to tell you the truth, people like to do business with confident people. You're going to get on that prospect call and presenting that proposal or that offer. You're going to be on cloud nine because you're going to know it's a no-brainer. Sell yourself first, and you can go ahead and squash that imposter syndrome and never have to deal with it again. All right, so let's do a quick review. We went through a lot today. So how to get prospects on the phone. You want to find the visceral problem, right? And then next, how to show your value. You got to find the ROI and talk about it with your prospects. And then how to overcome imposter syndrome. Oh, it's all about crafting an offer that makes sense. Put the litmus test to the test and see if your offer is a no-brainer. Because if you would do it, oh, your clients are going to say yes all day long. So these are actionable steps you can implement today so that you can rise together to be able to serve your clients on a super high level. And also, isn't that the theme of our summit? It's together we rise. And then the more that you can up-level your conversations, the more you attract great clients and the more you're able to serve on a higher level. So your clients can serve their people on a higher level, and it all comes together beautifully. So thank you so much. It was such a pleasure spending time with you. And you want to know what? Please reach out to me. Would love to hear your successes with this. And if you're still not sure of conversations and how the conversations can go, we actually have 6 questions you can ask on every sales conversation to start dialing this in. This was just teaching, was just a piece, but I'm going to go ahead and give you a resource here that you can access. If you hop over to mastermysales.com, you can go ahead and download the 6 secret questions to go ahead and ask on every sales conversation. It's going to incorporate these tactics as well, and you will be well on your way. Enjoy the summit. I wish you good luck. And boy, let me tell you something. You have it all here today to be able to attract those great clients, serve people at a higher level. Thank you so much for your time and make it a great day. Thanks so much.